Today's guest is our dear friend, neighbor, and gem extraordinaire, Monica Flaum, co-founder of the extremely successful and cult favorite jewelry brand Dripping in Gems. Today we hear about her upbringing in New York City, how that inspired her innate entrepreneurial spirit, and the hustle mentality of just going for it. Monica also shares how she's balanced motherhood with pivoting different businesses, the most important thing you need to do when moving to a new city, and a parenting hack that you don't want to miss. If you're a multi-passionate hustler who loves squeezing the juice out of life and is always looking to get to the next level, then Share the Wealth is for you. Welcome. I'm Zeba.
And I'm Sarah.
We're two friends who just happen to live across the street from each other and share a deep passion for entrepreneurship and wellness. After meeting as neighbors, we quickly bonded over our similar journeys, starting out in Fortune 500 companies before diving headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship and opening fitness studios.
Together, we bring unique perspectives to the table, combining years of experience in business, fitness, and personal growth. Join us and our incredible guests as we explore the realities of being ambitious women, navigating business, motherhood, wellness, and the many twists and turns life throws our way. So let's start sharing.
Yay, Monica! We're so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. This is very exciting. It's fun.
Monica, as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I guess when I was really little, I always said I wanted to be a heart surgeon
Wow.
because I had the human body pop-up book and I loved it. The body, medicine, all of that appealed to me. I was probably 8 or 9, and I had a friend who had diabetes. And I remember seeing her prick her finger, I guess to take insulin levels. I saw one drop of blood and I fainted. And I said, okay, I think that dream is
It's dead.
was short-lived and over.
How
So
self-aware, though,
from
to know that, right?
And to find out
yeah,
early enough before
early,
you're...
early on. But I guess realistically, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was one of those kids. I grew up in Manhattan, and I know in Rochester and like most suburb places, we have lemonade stands. And I always loved selling things. I lived in an apartment building on 79th Street and East End Avenue, which is a very residential area. It's quiet considering New York standard. It's not like Times Square where it's bustling people all the time. And I was young. I was probably 9, 10. And I remember my neighbor, Michael Zweig, I'll never forget his name, had thrown out piles upon piles of vinyl records. And I remember asking him, do you want those anymore? They're in the garbage area. He said, no, take them. They're yours. I took them, put out a sheet in front of my apartment, laid out the records, and I sold them. I don't remember what I sold them for, maybe 50 cents, a dollar. I don't remember. But I knew at that point that I could sell someone else's garbage or something. And at that point in life, I was like, this is kind of fun. And I knew from an early age I wanted to do something in that realm.
I love the tidbit that you laid out a sheet because that's also very Manhattan. I'm picturing Canal Street.
Yes, I was peddling vinyl records at a young age, and maybe I was so cute as a little like 8 or 9 year old that the police, didn't care about
For
me.
real.
It was a New York life, I guess, a New York moment.
And what other ways did being from Manhattan, growing up there, feed into your hustling spirit and entrepreneurship?
Growing up in New York, there's just something about the city life. You're either part of it or you're not. And anyone knows when they come to New York, it's like an invigorating feeling, and you get that feeling where you want to work and you want to do something and you want to be creative, and everyone shares that energy. And I guess it was always in me because I was physically there. At the same time, I came from an entrepreneurial background. My dad was an optician and he owned a bunch of fashionable optical boutiques in Manhattan. He catered to celebrities, to people who were then stylists, and all walks of life. I grew up going to his stores, seeing beautiful eyeglasses, sunglasses. My mom was a fashion designer, always creative, always has been an artist. So I think with both my parents, in addition to growing up in Manhattan, with the energy, it fueled me to be a hustler.
Yeah, that New York energy you're describing, it's like you're either moving or get out of the way. You feel it even with the walking. You gotta walk a little faster, get out of people's ways.
Yes. People always ask me, do you miss New York? What do you miss? I love New York. If you told me I had to live there tomorrow, I could do it. It's part of me. The one thing I miss the most is walking and feeling the energy, stumbling upon an event that's happening that you didn't even know was going on. There's always something going on, and someone's always making magic,
Yeah.
feels in the city.
So then what did you study when you went to college? Was it business related?
No, it wasn't. I went to the Newhouse School at Syracuse University. I studied public relations. And it was a great major. I did use it later on in life. I feel like I'm still using it in my business. Business school probably would have been a great idea for me. I could always take some business classes. I met my husband at Syracuse, which is how I ended up in Rochester because his business was here and I decided to make the move. So it all worked out.
Was there ever the
Um,
question of you guys moving to New York City?
we had a summer in the city where my husband did an internship. We lived together and we had a good time, but it was a little more stressful. It wasn't as carefree of a life that we could have had living here.
Hmm.
So we made the decision, I made the decision that I said, you know what, I'm going to go up here and go to Rochester and I'm going to try it. And the first few years were not so easy. I can't say that it was just easy when I moved here. The people were amazing. My family is amazing, but it's tough leaving Manhattan. Listen, even leaving Manhattan to go to Queens or Brooklyn or Bronx, anyone could tell you it's a different world. And I never thought that I would be one of those people to leave New York. I never thought of it. I never really had these big dreams of what I was going to do 30 years from then. So I just didn't think that leaving New York was a possibility in my mind. And I fell in love and I said, okay, I'm going to try it. And luckily, after the first couple of years, things started to fall into place and I found my way and I started to build a life I really loved. I wasn't always looking back at New York. I was looking to what I had here and making a future.
Sarah and I are both transplants like you, maybe not from Manhattan. We moved here the same summer, just a few months apart, and we can totally relate. It takes a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years, and even though the city and family might be great, there's something about being older and having to kind of rebuild your life. Do you have any advice for anybody, especially women that are moved into a different area for a marriage or a job?
Surround yourself with people that are positive about the place where you're moving to. So I met some women friends at the time because I didn't know too many people, and they weren't so positive. They had some negative things to say. And I remember feeling after I would leave them like, well, it doesn't make me feel good about living here if you're saying something negative about it and all of that stuff. So I always said to people that are moving here, find people that are positive, that love Rochester, love where you're going to be living, that know, all the fun things to do and nothing negative. It's got to be all positive and uplifting
I've
to
never
reflect
heard that
on you.
advice before.
That is
Hip.
something, and I wish, this is why we're on the fly, but I read something recently about that. You think it feels good to vent and say all these negative things, but it just makes it worse. Sometimes, whether it's negativity about where you live, somebody's marriage, or about the kids. Oh, my husband's so annoying. The kids are driving me crazy. It's fine. Once in a while, you need to say these things, but you can't be doing it every day. It does
No,
not do what you think it does.
It's cathartic only to an extent, right? And then it just
right.
becomes a downer.
I love that.
Well, I never understood people. If you're complaining about something, change it. I'm not one of these people to dwell. Something is obviously out of your control sometimes. Life happens, bad things happen, but you got to give yourself a time period. Be upset, or I'm going to mourn for a day or a week, whatever time period, and then I'm going to get over it and I'm going to move on. That's how I've always been. Same with meeting people. I'm going to find people that are positive, like minded, like me. And if they're negative, no time. We have no
Yep.
time for drama, negative. We got to
Yep.
surround ourselves with.
Life is too short. At this point, you moved to Rochester and you're settled in. And what are you doing at this point?
I had to find my new career because I had done entertainment PR after I graduated. I worked with celebrities, restaurant openings. Unfortunately, in Rochester, there wasn't much of that. I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I had always had a fashion background. In high school, I worked in a high end retail boutique store called Carol Rollo. She was one of the first boutiques that would carry Italian designers before Dolce Gabbana, Jean Paul Gaultier, before they had their own stores, before any of that. And so I was surrounded by these high end fashion designers, and I always loved that. And I knew that wasn't something that I could do in Rochester either. But those experiences working in retail stores and all of that stuff, when I came to Rochester, I said, well, what can I do that can incorporate what I love to do? That's kind of my New York background, but bring it here. So I had friends in the industry, people that were clothing manufacturers, accessory people. Actually, your shirt that you're wearing, your Pucci inspired shirt, I had a friend who made these gorgeous bags, these little clutch bags and little like toiletry cases out of these beautiful silk Pucci print inspired and all of this stuff, different designers. And I brought them to Rochester and I had trunk shows. I called them Monica G sales. And my first sale was at my mother-in-law's house. She was so lovely and lent me her living room. She invited all her friends, and it started off small. I had all these designers come up, and I basically functioned like a retailer,
You had a
like a
line
retail,
sheet like your
store.
records.
I had a line sheet. I brought clothing up. I steamed every article of clothing. I tagged it. I hung it. And it was a store essentially. And then throughout a couple of years, I rented out different locations and we had these sales and they were amazing and they were very lucrative. The best part about them was the relationships I had made with these people that lent me their clothing. It was all on consignment. So the best part was after my sales, if I didn't sell anything, I sent them back, and all I had to pay for was shipping. So it was a truly an amazing situation.
Any
But
chance you
after a
bring that
bunch of
back,
maybe,
please?
maybe we'll bring back the Monica G sales.
You
Made
have
an
two
exist
clients
two clients.
to start.
I did that and I loved it, but after years, I was by myself. My husband was my head of security. He helped schlep
Yeah.
the full length mirrors and rolling racks. It was a lot of physical work. I decided after that, I think, we'll try something else. And so from then, I guess with my experience, a friend of mine, John Del Monte, who owns the Del Monte Spa here in Rochester, was opening up this beautiful spa, the Del Monte Spa, and he asked me to help do his whole retail area and bring in brands that were unique and product lines and things like that. So I did that. Everything that I've done over the years has always been that creative, fun, fashionable background I grew up with in New York. I've just had to reinvent myself a little bit moving here.
That
That's
makes
so
sense.
So
inspiring.
I didn't know that about the spa. Smart
we
man.
do. Say some of the lines are that I had brought in that was I think like 20 years ago or not that long, maybe 17 are still there today. After that I got pregnant and I had my first son. I decided I did what I came to do for the Del Monte. I'm going to move on and I decided to make my own styling business because women had been asking my opinion on what they should wear and help me style this for a wedding or an event or whatever it was. And I said, you know what, maybe I can make this into a little business, capitalize on it. And it actually grew into something that was also lucrative and fun. I did my styling business for probably 8, 9 years, led me
Wow.
to some really cool situations. I was a local correspondent for Channel 13. I had
Incredible.
a look good and feel good segment with Monica.
What? How do we
A
I
miss
little
love
this? We
cheap.
need to bring back the Monica G trunk
Yeah.
sale and the feel good look good with Monica as well.
Okay, so how did you get the word out about the styling business? This is pre-social
Great
media.
question.
Yeah, I did. I had a website. People would go to the website, but it was all word of mouth. People that had used me through other people.
Hmm.
Styling here in Rochester is different than New York, and maybe price points are a little different. Somebody who's maybe doesn't mind spending a lot of money for a Dolce Gabbana suit or a dress or whatever it is, doesn't really want to spend that here for their everyday life.
Well, especially
So
because
I
we
would
don't
take
have the
people,
same kind of lifestyle, right? Like we don't have a
right.
ton of events, a ton of glam parties and like
No, we'd make our
I mean,
own.
now
yeah,
with the
we make our
internet,
own.
like the internet, we have access to everything around the world, right?
Yes.
So that's what's actually great about the internet and online. At the time, with my styling, I would take people to where they would shop locally. So I would take them to, let's say, Ann Taylor and places that they didn't need me after I worked with them, that they could actually go in there and once they learned what would work for their body and what they thought would look good on them based on what I would help them with, then they could go into, let's say, Ann Taylor or any place that they would go in the mall afterwards.
I love that program of giving them wings to fly. How did you develop kind of the framework, without having gone to like a fashion school? And at this point in time, right, there's not like a ton of content where you can learn from. So, like, this is just like pure talent, your own background.
I've got it. I know what looks right on women. I worked with a few men, very few, and I'm not good at it. I will admit that. I can tell you what I'm good at, and I can tell you
That's
what I'm not good with men. I love my husband. He's the only man that I'm good with. But a woman's body, I see it, I know it.
Love
And
that.
when I see a woman, I can tell exactly what would look good on her, what she should be rocking, and the whole look, head to toe, from hair color to makeup to the whole outfit. I guess it's part of just who I am.
Yeah.
I have the eye.
I love that you've said every business you've started, you've made a point to say that they were lucrative. And I love that because you see so much of, oh, I'm just doing this little side thing. Sometimes that's a situation. But guess what? You were making a profit, which doesn't have to be everybody's goal, but it's possible. And we should be proud of that.
100%. Actually, it's a funny story. I'm wearing this bracelet because I knew I was coming on here. So I wanted to just tell you because I thought we were talking about entrepreneurial things. So when I was in 11th grade, the summer before my senior year in high school, I was with my mom, who, as I said, she's an artist, fashion designer, and she took me down to the fashion district, the garment district. She needed like findings and beads, something she was doing. She made hats at the time and she was a milliner just for herself. She did sell her hats, but that was more of a creative, fun thing for her to do. And I went downtown with her and I met this amazing woman who was from Ecuador and she was making beaded bracelets, which I'm wearing. It's not a new idea. We had seen some bracelets that were very similar that were maybe half the size. The patterns weren't as great, but the ones she had made were so amazing. They were just the perfect
Mm.
pattern with the perfect colors, all different. And I remember buying a bunch from her. I said, I'd love to buy a bunch and see if I could sell these and just see what I could do with them. At 16, 17, you have no fear, right? You don't care. You're mindless, just out there having fun.
Mhm.
I remember that summer I didn't have anything to do. I wore the same skirt every day, this little black pencil, well, it really wasn't a pencil skirt. It was like an A-line skirt, the white t-shirt. I had cuff bracelets on both hands. So it was a very simple outfit. And I made the cuff bracelets the star of the show. And I started in the West Village and I walked to 92nd Street throughout the entire summer. Walked into every store that I thought might be a good fit for these bracelets. And the first store that I started with was Bigelow Pharmacy, which still exists today. It's in the village. And they had an amazing retail area in the front where they sold these awesome hair accessories and all sorts of cool things. And they bought 30, 35 bracelets from me.
Whoa.
It was like, wow, I got a check right then and there. And it fueled me. I was like, let's go. We're going to do this. Went
find the
back to
lady
the
again.
woman. I think about her and I'm like, she really, after the records selling on with the with the sheet, she really was the one who sparked my entrepreneurial spirit because after that I went back to her and I bought the rest of what she had. And it was a lot. But I was like, I just sold a whole lot at one store. I'm going to go every day and I'm going to just keep walking. And I did. And I made my way uptown. And by the end of the summer, I had enough money that I didn't have to ask my parents for spending money for the first year to year and a half into my sophomore year of college.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it
I'm
was pretty amazing.
I love that story because not only is it the first inkling of jewelry for you, but you weren't making the jewelry. You were this middle
No,
person with the confidence and the business know-how to take what she was doing and do that. And I don't know how she was, what if she spoke English, but like she couldn't have done
very
that.
little,
She couldn't have done
very
that when
little.
it's people like you that amplify people like her and what they're doing. And that's
Yes.
great.
So I went to a store called Scoop, which in New York was the store.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, it's not around anymore, but they bought a bunch of my bracelets. Scoop had these high-end designers. I was like, wow, I'm in Scoop. That's pretty amazing. And then a year to 2 years later, because of all these amazing boutiques that were starting to carry these bracelets, people started knocking them off. And then eventually they were on the street.
What was your
So
margin?
someone had knocked them off. It was very high, more than
Yeah.
100%. It was high.
So when you're going, and this is a different time too, but did you have to have a brand name and say these are made in Ecuador or nothing?
Nope,
Just the tag.
nope.
Monica G.
No, I didn't. I mean, listen, maybe at taxes at that age, I don't know. I don't remember that part. Hopefully, they're not going to come after me 30 something years later.
Too
I'm
late.
very good with my taxes now, though. But yeah, I mean, I was young, so I didn't have a business name. I didn't have any of that. All
Wow.
happened later on.
Wow.
Was really a confidence booster, when you're at that age and you're like, wow, I don't have to ask my parents for money and I'm selling something I really like that I want to wear. And I think that's also part of it.
That's
Any
huge. Yeah.
woman there, yeah, anybody starting a business, if you're not so passionate about what you're selling, I don't think it'll work.
No.
I think you're not going to make it. But if you've got something that it's part of who you are and you love it so much, you don't even have to sell it. It sells itself because you love it so much. It's going to be a winner.
I love that you mentioned building the confidence for whatever was next. You pretty much put those bracelets on the map.
Yeah. Basically, everybody's still making them thanks to you.
Yeah. So like you had,
I don't want to be obnoxious by saying
No.
it, but it's true.
I
yeah. And
mean,
like
It's
that goes back to right place, right time,
yeah.
having New York City as your playground. That might not have happened somewhere else, even in Rochester.
Yeah.
It just had a ripple effect. And then you have that knowledge now, like, wow, I kind of have an eye for this.
You brought us to the future and then we went back to the past to revisit that first kind of, glimmer of the spark with the jewelry. And so you finished up your trunk club, consulting and styling. How did Dripping in Gems come to be?
back to my mom, who's always been an artist, a fashion designer, and milliner. She started out as a coat designer way back when. She was always a sculptor. And then she started just making some bracelets. She had seen some pieces and got inspired to make her own. She made a few bracelets, a couple of necklaces. And I was like, Mom, these are great. We got to do something with this. Back to my
Yeah. Let me go
New
sell them.
York hustle,
Yeah.
hustle self. With that same sort of confidence, I told her, she lives down in Miami. I said, send me a box and let me see what I can do. I brought it to a local store, a different point of view, still in business today. She took 30, 40 pieces, again, the same amount, a big amount to try. And she sold out within a few months and was able to reorder basically. And we started that way, the same way I guess I did when I was younger. And now locally, we're here in Cornell's for many years, which is a beautiful, amazing jewelry store. And from then on, organically, I've met people along the way that own stores throughout the country. And we are in stores around the US, which has been really amazing. We're small. I don't want to make it like we're so big, but we are, I guess, big enough to be on here.
Yes. What I love about your jewelry is it looks so different than what anybody else is making. But the other thing too is that it's really comfortable to wear. I'm never bogged down by it. One of the things that is like a litmus test whenever I want to invest in something is can I wear this a lot and have it become part of me? Like I'm wearing like these beautiful emerald earrings from you. and they're so lightweight. I'm wearing these bracelets that are statement bracelets, but I can't even
Hmm.
feel them on my arm. They're just really
Yes.
thoughtfully made.
Thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. That's our business. These earrings are probably the most statement earring you could possibly see and wear, yet they feel like nothing. I don't want to feel like I'm wearing jewelry because it's one of those things you want to look good, but you don't want to feel like you're being bogged down by a
You're
heavy
rattling.
earring. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. If your ears hurt, you don't want to wear them. So our statement earrings are very lightweight and we've evolved over the years. It's taken us a few years to get to that point. Unlike these bracelets, I didn't make, we manufacture everything. Our designs are 100% ours. So, which is also nice that, they're not going to end up on a New York City street corner. Maybe someone will copy us, knock us off. It happens all the time. It is what it
It
is. But
does.
all our pieces are authentically our designs, which, is a good feeling. It's not like I'm copying anybody or doing anything else. Like these are our designs. We love them. So we put intention with them where they are comfortable. They just serve the right purpose. I run the business the way I want a business to be run. We don't overcharge for our pieces. We want people to come back to us. We don't just want you to buy one piece from us and then never see us again. We are not like the engagement ring, type of business with big diamonds. We are a business that women purchase for themselves. Pretty much that's our demographic. So we aren't the type of business where you have to ask your partner or significant other, husband, whatever, is it going to break the bank? It's really pieces that you want to buy for yourself and keep coming back. I built the business the way I want a business to be run. I want it quick. So if you have a custom piece made, we say no more than 3 to 4 weeks. We usually can do it really quickly. If God forbid anything breaks, we turn it around within a week. If you order from us online, usually it gets shipped out that day or the next day. We don't really wait more than 24 hours. I function like Amazon that way. I want it done today, if not yesterday. We run the business the way I want it to be run.
The best part of aging in 2025 is doing it on our own terms. If you're like us and want to keep the grays at bay, we're excited to share our experience with Array, known as the wrinkle cream of hair care. Array is the first functional beauty brand to target aging hair with a proactive, science-driven approach. Today we're offering an exclusive 15% off discount code on your purchase of Share the Well 15. That's spelled ShareThewellth 15. I discovered Array 3 years ago when I first started noticing grays, and they've been a part of my hair care routine since. Sarah is starting it now and excited to report back, so why not get started with 15% off? From dry shampoo to root serum to supplements, Array has got you covered in a way hair color can't. Head to arraygray.com, that's AREYGREY.com. And again, the discount code is ShareTheWealth15.
You started out and you landed in that store and you realized that, okay, this is going to be something. Did you have to scramble, get with your mom and say, like, we need a name, start all of this?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we didn't have a name. Yes, there was nothing. We came up with Dripping in Gems, made it an LLC, and created a website. After some time, we had
Hmm.
trunk shows, tested the waters, saw what people were buying, and created a website. And we realized we wanted to give back. There's just something about giving to people in need. It just makes you feel good. So selfishly, I wanted to do that. And we came up with Gems for Good, which is really our initiative. And we trademarked that name as well. We trademarked Dripping in Gems. Yeah, so all of those things we had to do
Hmm.
along the way. Um, and that's been an amazing feeling and part of our business where we donate pieces for charitable auctions or we make pieces where we generate a large amount of money and give back to those charities. So we did for the Wilmot Cancer Center a bunch of years ago, we made them these bracelets that they sold, and a portion of the proceeds went back to the Wilmot Cancer Center. And there were these beautiful bracelets with an evil eye, a rose quartz bracelet with a silver ribbon for breast cancer. And we sold thousands of those bracelets, and people are still wearing them today, which makes me very happy. In fact, I saw a client this week. She says, "Oh, I still wear them every day." And I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing." And they're
Yeah.
not stretched out. They're amazing. They're
Mhm.
perfect. So things like that have evolved over the years. It's gotten bigger for giving back, but we started just with a name and a website
And
and
also
then
the
it
cool
has
thing
evolved.
about it just being you and your mom is that you can be nimble. When the Los Angeles fires happened, you quickly set up to give back. It's the beauty of being small and family owned and having that power to just do what it is that you are setting out to do that day versus running it through a ton of different departments.
Yes, it's very true. So we've been doing this for 10 years. It's one of these businesses in the past, like my Monica G sales. After some time, it wasn't maybe my designs. It wasn't our visions, right? I was selling other people's things. Same like these bracelets, as amazing as they are, they weren't things I designed. Now our business are pieces we've created by ourselves. I'll never stop doing this. This will always be the business I keep going. In a few more years, when my boys are completely out of the house, we're going to branch out and do something else in addition to the jewelry. I have ideas. I'm not ready to put them out there yet, but in the next 3 to 4 years, my younger son is going to be a senior. And once he goes off to college, I plan to expand. But I love what we're doing, and I'll always do just what we're doing because it's so fun. And we are constantly changing. Our website, and by the way, I would never be able to get on Shark Tank. So people over the years have been like, you guys should go on Shark Tank. They would hate me because I have like 5,000 SKUs. An investor likes just a few SKUs. We are custom, one of a kind. Every little piece of jewelry we make has just something a little bit different. We make all different charm
Yeah.
bracelets with different beads, maybe a round bead, but we also have square, triangular beads. We are an investor's worst nightmare. It's great
Well,
because I don't need one.
I was going to say, you keep saying you're going to do this forever. It's successful too. It's not, again, it's you're successful and you don't need Shark Tank. I mean, that'd be so cool to be able to
No,
bring it
no,
to more
no.
people,
It would
but
be awesome.
you
Yeah,
have a
but I think
website.
also as a creative mind, you get bored, right? You're constantly trying to see what else you can create. And luckily for us with our jewelry business, there are so many different pieces and different, not just earrings, not rings, bracelets. We make so many different things that it still fuels my creative outlet.
Yeah.
And also for your
So,
customer, like how cool to have a one of a kind piece. I know there's some duplicates and replicas, but for the most part, you're not going to see somebody wearing the exact same thing.
no, no. We try to make everything just a tiny bit different, even if the one bead is different or something is just a little different than the other piece we make, just so everyone feels a little special.
Working with your mom sounds like such a special and fun endeavor, and I've worked with my family before. I still work with my sister. Would love to hear any tips for people that are looking to get into business with their family.
You have to start off with a good functioning relationship to start, right? To
Yeah.
start. My mom and I have always been best friends, and I've always talked to her on the phone like 10 times a day. And now with our business, we talk about 20.
Yeah.
So we've always liked each other. So I think that really has to be the foundation. But there are times I'm like, Mom, you need to do this. And she'll tell me, Monica, you need to do this. We managed to stay in our lanes and work together beautifully. So, she's got her design sense and her creative outlets that sometimes, I might not always agree with, but she's usually right. Moms always know. I guess that's a true statement. And me being the business side, more or less, she doesn't really go in my lane. We have a great relationship. I can't do what she does, and she can't do what I do well. I mean, we can do things better when we're a little separated and come together collectively. It's been an amazing working relationship. It's been beautiful.
Well, speaking of family, you did mention having boys at home, and we wanted to see if you had any advice on balancing, being a business owner and your husband also is a business owner and then raising kids who we know are lovely, but how do you do it?
Well, there's no on and off button, right? When you own your own business. There's no 9 to 5. You come home from your corporate 9 to 5 job, but there's always orders to be filled, phone calls to field. Talking about business, my husband's business is always part of our dinner conversation. There's no on and off button at home. My boys loved growing up, I think, with a mom that has been entrepreneurial. It's definitely rubbed off on them, which has been great. Balance wise, though, my business, like I said, I want to expand our business into something else in addition to the jewelry in a few more years. But I have kept it small because I still like my life in regards to picking up my younger son who doesn't drive yet, which I'm holding on to for another year. So I love to go pick him up from school and, run him to his after school activities. I don't miss a lacrosse game. They both play lacrosse. I haven't missed a game. Like things of that nature, I still am able to do because we are still small. And once they leave the nest, I'll expand. But just having our businesses at home, I guess, like where they see it, has rubbed off on them in the best way possible. My son Ryder started a sneaker business that he sold sneakers and cool streetwear through Instagram and eBay using my light box that I have for photographing our jewelry. And, I always helped him with just descriptions and things like that. So he started really that entrepreneurial spirit at a young age. And then my other son, he's doing the same thing, selling on eBay some of his old clothes,
The
things
next
like that.
generation. It's like, you were
Yeah.
walking up and down the street, they're just going to eBay.
It's true. So I think there's balance, but like anything, we talk about the business all the time. There's always conversation about my business or my husband's business where he's in real estate. It's a constant dinner conversation.
I
It's
love that
it's
you
embedded.
are being strategic and letting yourself enjoy picking them up. Some of the things like most of us, there's times where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to drive. So here or there, but like these years are so fluid and before you know it, you don't have them anymore. So like to just
100%.
allow yourself to relish in that, know that once you don't have that anymore, that you have something else that you can like sink your teeth into.
It's hard. It went by very quickly, as everyone says it. And, when they're younger, it's not easy. All stages to me have been amazing and fun. It's fleeting. My older son's going to college next year, and I'm not going to have those pickup days anymore. I'm not going to make him lunch in the morning and talk with him when he's having his breakfast. Like it's really sad. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I relish those moments. I don't take it for granted. I'm as present as I can possibly be when I am with them. And yeah, it's hard.
I love the advice of including the business conversation with them because it is important. I mean, it is both of your, what you're doing, you and your husband is it's part of it. It's
Who
part
you
of your
are.
family. Like, don't pretend that it's not.
Right.
Luckily, it's all positive and successful, so they can learn from it in real time.
My father-in-law was amazing. He would take my boys when they were little, like 4 years old, to powerhouse business lunches or dinners. He would bring them and start them at a very young age. So I always was very like, oh my goodness, you really want him at the table with important people? He did it. I learned a great deal from that. Thankfully, my husband has kept that going. My boys come to important meetings they know nothing about or situations they probably don't belong. And it's taught them a lot. It's been great. I did learn that early on, and that's good advice. A child, and you think they're too young, expose them early, let them see what people are doing in their work life just
Yep.
when home.
And listen to the conversation. It's amazing what they pick up.
100%.
They just are like little sponges.
Yeah, absolutely. They're brilliant. It's smart, and it will shape them for what they do in life.
In terms of investments, what is one investment that you have made in your business that has really paid off?
Starting our website early on, that was always a big tool for us for selling our pieces. Starting with our website was a
And
great investment.
we'll link that too,
So,
so
Okay,
everyone can check it out.
thank you. And Instagram's always
Yes.
a good way to see our pieces.
Is there a piece of advice that you've had business related that has really shaped you or that you'd like to share?
I think you just got to go for it. At that young age, no cares of what people are going to think of me or whatever. My dad was always the one to say to me, you have nothing to lose. They say no. So to me, that's the best advice. Just go for it. What's the worst? They say no.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
At some point, too, it might be a yes, right?
Yeah.
100%.
That's the theme.
I don't have life-changing advice. Just go for it.
Well, your examples selling the bracelets, you didn't have a brand name, it looked good, felt good, and people wanted it. Like, you don't always have to have everything in a row. And we learned that too, just doing this endeavor. Like, we didn't launch with everything perfect. And then you figure
Right.
it out.
You figure it out as you go. You just, all of it just happens to work out. You learn from your mistakes. And
Love it.
I never understood people that had these like big, thick business plans. I get it if you're like in the financial industry, but when you're just building a business for yourself or whatever you're doing, I don't know how you fall into a business plan. You could have goals, but you got to make mistakes and grow from them. Otherwise, you're never going to learn. You're never going to know what to do, what's right, what's wrong. So you just have to go for it.
Before we get to rapid fire fun,
And
what is your favorite piece that you have of yours?
it's a tough question
I know it
because
is.
our first classic bracelets, Ziva, I know you have a stack that you're
Mhm.
wearing. I'm
Mhm.
wearing a similar stack in silver, and we do gold and silver. I would say our classic stack, we've been making this since the very beginning, and we have not increased our prices either on that.
What?
Yes, we have not.
Get them now.
Yes, we're good. That's probably been my favorite because we've made it from the beginning and they always sell. The stacks, you literally can wear jeans and then with a cocktail evening dress.
Yep.
So it's the most versatile piece in our collection, our classic stack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I have several of your pieces, and I would agree with you.
All right. The catch up.
Yes.
I've got some old stuff that my mother-in-law would buy me before I moved here. So
Yes.
I need an update.
Make
You
that
have the
happen.
vintage dripping in gems.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. Okay.
So gold or silver? I think I know the answer.
Oh, both. Both all day long.
All right. That's fair.
I can't, I'm sorry. Gold and silver.
Same.
Always.
Mix.
Same. No, yeah, mix.
Next one. Spa day or shopping day?
I love a good massage, but I would say shopping. Shopping,
I think it's because you're so hyper and type A that it feels more productive,
yes,
right?
totally 1000%. I feel guilty when I'm trying to relax. It's
Yes.
just, I know Ziva and I
I know.
share the same situation when we're laying on the beach and we're laying for 5 minutes and then we have to do something. It's
Mhm.
just I'm not the lay on the beach kind of person. So yeah, I would say shopping,
Early bird or night owl?
early bird, always. Yes. After Housewives, you'll find me sleeping. I'm definitely more of a morning person.
Sneakers or heels?
Old days, heels. Today, sneakers all day.
Netflix or reading?
I'd like to sound more studious than say reading a book, but Netflix.
Beach or mountain?
Oh,
Vacation.
I love both. I'd say mountains because there's more we can do.
That checks.
Bracelets or rings?
Bracelets are easier to sell. Rings are tricky. People need to find their ring size and they need
Yeah.
to know which ring they're putting it on. I love both. Both is the
course.
answer. If I'm selling, I know bracelets are easier to sell than rings.
Great. I'm so excited to shop at drippingandgems.com.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
thank you. This is
It's amazing.
amazing. If you enjoyed today's conversation, the best way to support us is by subscribing, sharing the podcast with a friend, and leaving a review. And we'd love to hear from you. Comment below or slide into our DMs. See you next time.